Namaste, beautiful yogis. This is going to be a strong vinyasa flow for all levels with elements of interval training and power yoga. Let's begin at the front of our mats, feet together. Bring your hands over your heart and begin to deepen your breath, extending the tailbone down, grounding through your feet and lifting through the crown of your head. The chest is open, the spine is elongated, strong legs, and let's step the feet just a little wider than hip width apart and begin to swing your hands side to side, allowing the hands to guide you. Using gravity here, warming up the spine. You can follow with your gaze, coming on the tippy toes on each side, and slowly come back to standing. And we're gonna bring the feet about hip width apart, toes are pointed forward. Bring your hands together over your head and reach over to one side, elongating equally both sides of your torso here. Open the rib cage. Come back to center and over to the other side, really lengthening the spine. The chest is open, the back is wide, and the shoulders are down. The feet are grounded. And back to center. Let's bring the hands by the hips. We're gonna take the right arm up and over the head and reach over. And over to the other side. Try to keep your tailbone tucked under the entire time. And exhale down. Now we're gonna step the feet a little wider than hip width apart. Right hand on the hip, left arm reaches over. And let's go over to the other side. Really try to lengthen here, linking your movements with your breath. One more time. Left arm reaches over to the right. You can circle in front of you. Come back up. And over to the other side. Right arm reaches over to the left. And circle, keeping the length of your torso here. And let's bring the hands by the hips for a few shoulder rolls. You can reverse the direction of the shoulder rolls. Great. And inhale the hands over the head, exhale the hands all the way to the floor. Or on your shin bones. Inhale, look ahead of you. And let's step the feet back all the way into plank. Pull the belly in. The chest is open. And here I'm demonstrating the first rep of bringing the feet across, tapping the feet across from your body for 10 reps, 5 on each side. Alternating sides, you're just bringing your foot across from your body and slightly tapping the floor across. And coming back into plank. Lower down, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. You can walk in place here, stretching the hamstrings. Spread your fingers wide open, lifting the base of the palm slightly off of your mat and pressing into the base of your fingers and into your knuckles. Keep your shoulders away from your ears. And let's bring the feet between the hands, stepping forward. Exhale, forward bend. Uttanasana. You can shake your head here, yes and no, making sure there is no tension in your neck and shoulders. And keeping the back straight, come all the way up to standing, hands over the heart. Back to your breath. Inhale, sweep your hands over your head. Exhale, flat back, forward bend. Exhale, completely. Inhale, look ahead of you. Let's bring the hands on the floor and step back into plank. Inner thighs are squeezing towards the midline. Chest is open. Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Pull the belly in and up. Working on your locks. In downward facing dog, lifting the tailbone up towards the ceiling. Let's take the feet all the way to the front of the mat. Exhale, bow down. Forward bend. Uttanasana. The crown of the head is extending down. There is no tension in the shoulders, neck, jaw. Inhale, halfway up, looking your head, and all the way up to standing, reaching over the head, over the third eye, over the heart. Back to your center. Big breath in, sweep your hands over your head, exhale, straight back, downward, forward bend. Inhale, look ahead of you, stepping into plank. Fingers are open, wide open, pressing into the thumbs as well. And let's tap the feet on the outside of the mat here 10 times, 5 on each side, alternating. Trying to maintain the alignment of your plank. Your core is strong here, you're just moving your feet. When you're done, you can sit back in child's pose. And let's come on to all fours. The wrists are underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips, and we're gonna take the right hand, palm facing up, and glide it underneath to bring the back of the shoulder on the floor. Same thing over to the other side. You're gonna reach with your hand across as far as you can so that the back of your shoulder touches the floor. That way you're stretching the back of your shoulder. The back of your head is on the floor as well, not the side of your head. And coming back up to all fours, tuck your toes underneath and lift back up to downward facing dog. And let's step the feet at the front of the mat. Inhale, halfway up. Sweep your hands all the way over the head, over the third eye, over the heart. Big breath in, chair pose. Exhale, forward bend. Inhale, look ahead of you. Hands on the floor, stepping into plank. Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Back to chaturanga. Exhale, downward facing dog. Right leg comes up. And let's step the right foot between the hands. Come up, crescent lunge. Exhale. Going down, plank, chaturanga, upward facing dog, chaturanga. Exhale into downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg comes up. Exhale, left foot between your hands. Inhale, come up, lunge. Exhale, hands on the floor. Plank, chaturanga, upward facing dog, chaturanga. Exhale, downward facing dog. The tailbone is lifted high. The breath is deep and calm. Right leg sweeps up, step your right foot between your hands, come up, high lunge one more time. This time let's bring the hands behind us, clasp the fingers, open the chest, lifting through the sternum. And let's bring the hands back up towards the sky and step down. Chaturanga, upward facing dog, chaturanga, downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg sweeps up. Exhale, bring your foot between your hands. Inhale, high lunge. Clasping the hands behind, lifting through the sternum, opening the chest to the front of the shoulders. Inhale, reaching back up, and the hands are on the floor. Step back into plank, move into your vinyasa, chaturanga, upward facing dog, chaturanga, downward facing dog. Great. Let's take the right leg up, going, keeping the breath going, the heat going. Inhale, high lunge. Bring your left hand on the floor, right arm reaches up into a twist. And slowly lift off the floor here, facing your right wall. And exhale the hands all the way on the floor. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take the left leg up. Exhale the left foot between your hands. Come up, crescent lunge, high lunge. And we're going to bring the right hand on the floor this time. Left arm reaches up, open the chest, align the hands and arms here in the same line. We're going to lift off facing the left side, looking over to the left or even all the way back, and you can go for a slight twist here. And we nail the hands on the floor, step back, plank, chaturanga, upward facing dog, back to chaturanga, exhale, downward facing dog. This is a quick base sequence because we're trying and working on building internal heat through the breath and movement. Very important to stay connected with your breath throughout the entire practice. And let's prepare to jump the feet between the hands. Chair pose. Reach all the way over your head. Come up to standing. Reaching the hands over the head, over the third eye, over the heart. Big breath in, chair pose. Exhale, forward bend. Inhale, look ahead of you, hands on the floor. Chair pose one more time, sit back. Squeeze the inner thighs towards the midline, pull the belly in. And let's take the left leg off the floor here, maintaining the alignment of your hips here. Step it back down, take your right leg in front of you. Again, your hips should align just the way they were when you had both feet on the floor, and back to chair pose. Exhale your hands on the floor. Inhale, look ahead of you. And let's jump all the way back to chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog, chaturanga. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take the right leg up, step your right foot between your hands and come up, warrior one. Hips are facing forward. Exhale your hands on the floor, step back into plank and keep your right leg off the floor. Lower it down and open upward facing dog. Chaturanga. Exhale, downward facing dog. Taking the left leg up, step the left foot between your hands. Come up, warrior one, hips are squaring forward. Exhale, lower down, one-legged chaturanga, lower down, upward facing dog, chaturanga, downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg comes up, step the right foot between your hands, and come up. Warrior 1, hands over the heart. Take a little wider stance here. Warrior 2. Lengthening both sides of the torso here. And let's windmill the hands all the way to the floor. Take your right leg back and over and lower down with a twist, chaturanga, and then release, upward facing dog. Back to chaturanga, exhale, downward facing dog. Take the left leg up, step the left foot between the hands. Big breath in, warrior 1. Let's bring the hands over the heart and open to warrior 2. Little wider stance here. Left knee pointing directly forward, pressing into the outer edge of your right foot here, lifting the arches of your feet. Windmill the hands all the way to the floor with an exhalation, lifting your left foot up and slightly across from your body, lower down, slightly resembling a scorpion, and then coming up, upward facing dog and back to downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg comes up, step your right foot between your hands, come up. Warrior 1, open into warrior 2, and let's reverse the warrior, gliding the left hand down the left leg, open the right hand all the way up, palm facing down. And here you can make a sweeping motion, bringing the hands all the way to the front of the mat. And let's bend the right leg, stretching the left hamstring here. Over to the other side, figure eights. You're drawing big figure eights in front of you and keeping your hips as far back as you can so that your knees are back. Trying not to overlap your knees over your toes. Keep them back. And let's bring the hands to the front of the mat into a lunge. And bringing one elbow underneath the right leg for an arm balance, which is of course optional. Jump back, chaturanga, upward facing dog, chaturanga, downward facing dog. Big breath in, left leg comes up, left foot between the hands, exhale, inhale, come up. And let's bring the hands over the heart, warrior 2. Reverse your warrior, walk your right hand down the right leg and really lengthen through the fingertips. Let's sweep the hands all the way to the front of the mat and prepare for the figure eights here. Squatting with the left leg, stretching the right foot here, right leg. Keep your knee back over your ankle and just draw a few figure eights in front of you here, coming to side lunge, side to side. No better way to explain this. It's better to see it demonstrated, so just keep moving into your side lunges. And let's bring the hands back to the front of the mat. Left shoulder underneath the left foot and lift up. Arm balance. Jumping the feet all the way back. Chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Back to chaturanga. Exhale, downward facing dog. Coming back to your breath. Connecting with your breath. Stay aware of your breath. Spread the fingers wide open, pull the belly in and up, lift the tailbone high and release the heels towards or on your mat. Shoulders away from the ears, which is the most common mistake I see in yoga classes. So try to keep your back wide and the shoulder blades tucked into your back. And let's prepare to jump the feet to the front of the mat. Chair pose. Sit back as far back as you can. Release the hands on the floor. Crow pose. And jumping into chaturanga or walking into chaturanga, upward facing dog, chaturanga and downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg comes up, step the right foot between your hands, come up, warrior one, hands over the third eye, over the heart. Let's bring the chest over the right thigh and transition into warrior three. Try to keep your hips level here, square with the floor. Bend the right knee and straighten it. One more time and straighten. One last time. And you can step all the way back into lunge. Exhale your hands on the floor. And come into side plank. Left hand on the floor, right arm reaches up. Hips are on top of each other, inner thigh squeezing towards the midline. And back to chaturanga, upward facing dog, optional second chaturanga, exhale downward facing dog. Let's take the left leg up, step your left foot between your hands, come up, warrior one. Hands over the heart, and we're gonna lower the chest over the left thigh and transition into warrior three, bending the left knee and straightening. Try to maintain your gaze here. Focus on one point on your floor and just stay there, bending the knee one last time and step back into lunge, lifting the hands over. Exhale your hands on the floor, side plank, right hand on the floor, hips on top of each other, feet if you can on top of each other, otherwise you can mismatch your feet so that it's a little easier to balance. And let's bring both hands on the floor to chaturanga, upward facing dog, back to chaturanga, exhale downward facing dog. Pull your belly in and up, shoulders away from the ears. Right leg comes up, right foot between the hands, come up, warrior one, and open into warrior two. Let's reach way ahead of us and bring the right hand somewhere in front of your right foot, aligning for standing half moon pose, Ardha Chandrasana. Hips on top of each other. I'm struggling here because the sun is so bright I can't see. So this is almost like Ardha Chandrasana with your eyes closed. An interesting challenge. And let's bring both hands on the floor for standing half splits. Do as much as you can. Exhale, bow down and take a small tiny little hop back to chaturanga, upward facing dog and downward facing dog. Let's take the left leg up, exhale the left foot between your hands, come up, warrior one, and let's bring the hands over the heart, warrior two. Reach way ahead of you with your left hand, bring your left hand on the floor in front of your left foot and transition into half moon pose. Hips on top of each other, flex your right foot and pull the toes back in towards you. If you lose your balance, don't worry about it, just go back into your pose and make sure to go back to your breath. I'm lifting one hand off the floor to just add to the challenge here. Other than the sun being too bright and the hands off the floor, that will give me, and Ardha Chandrasana in general, that will give me a good challenge. And let's exhale the hands on the floor, lifting one leg up to standing half splits. And let's jump back into Chaturanga, upward facing dog, back to Chaturanga, exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg comes up, step your right foot between your hands and come up. Warrior 1, hands over the heart, open into Warrior 2. Reach way ahead of you, one more time, transitioning into standing half moon pose. And you can either hold your half moon pose or you can reach behind you and grab your foot for an added back bend. If you're holding your foot behind you, make sure to press your left hip forward so you're stretching your hip flexor here. And let's square the hips with the floor, look ahead of you, come into Warrior 3 and slowly transition up to standing, bringing your left knee into your rib cage. Let's bring the right hand around the left big toe, and when you're ready you can look behind you. Slowly come back forward and try to grab your foot with both of your hands. You don't have to go as far as I did here, but try at least to hold the balance here, holding your foot with 2 hands, and come back into Warrior 3. Hands on the floor, a small hop back to Chaturanga, upward facing dog, back to Chaturanga, exhale in downward facing dog, and take your left leg up, step your left foot between your hands, come up Warrior 1, hands over the heart, and let's take Warrior 2, Vira 2, reach way ahead of you, bring your left hand in front of your left foot on the floor, and align yourself for half moon pose. Either reach back and grab your right foot behind your back or just hold half moon pose. If you're holding your foot, press your hip forward, stretching the quadriceps and the hip flexor. Hips are on top of each other. And let's square the hips with the floor, coming into Warrior 3 and slowly come up to standing. Right knee comes into the rib cage, left hand around the right big toe. Optional is to look back all the way past your right thumb. This will challenge your balance. And facing back forward, try to grab your foot with both your hands, either stretching up or not. And back to Warrior 3. Hands on the floor, and this time we're going to step the feet at the front of the mat together, and let's step them a little wider than hip width apart, toes pointing forward, wrap the elbows around the wrist around the elbows, and just allow your upper body to hang, decompressing the spine, allowing for complete relaxation, letting go in the upper body, in the neck, the shoulders, just hanging heavy. Softening the face muscles, the jaw. And let's bring the hands behind our backs, clasp. Moving the hands away from your back and down towards the floor. Feeling a light stretch in the front of the shoulders. Great, and let's bring the hands back down on the floor. Coming into a squat. Inhale. Left arm reaches up, and you can bring it around both or one knee. And see if you can clasp behind. This is challenging. So if you can't, you can just thread the hand between both knees, so you get a little more space here if it's somewhat clear what I mean. And over to the other side. Trying to open the chest as much as possible and just working patiently on this one. and back to center. Hands on the floor, straighten the legs, coming into a forward bend. Inhale, look ahead of you, straight back, come all the way up to standing, hands over the heart, third eye. Coming back to our breath, coming back to our center, observing the central axis of the body. Great, big breath in, lift all the way over the head, exhale, forward bend. Inhale, look ahead of you. And let's jump all the way into Chaturanga and upward facing dog. Back to Chaturanga, exhale, downward facing dog. And we're gonna prepare for knee tucks here, alternating knee tucks in plank position. Alternatively, you can do them in downward facing dog. So come into plank and bring one knee at a time into your chest between your elbows for 10, 5 on each side total. Keep the belly in and keep your hips steady. You can look ahead of you. That will actually give you a better challenge. And back to downward facing dog once you're done with your 10 reps. And again, plank. We're gonna jump the feet on the outside of the mat by the hands for 10. When you jump back into plank, make sure your hips are still lifted. You can come into a complete plank, just don't sag your hips. Once you're done with the 10 reps, step back into plank and take your right leg up. Exhale your right foot between your hands. Warrior 1, hips facing forward. Open into Warrior 2. Right knee aligning with the toes on the right side. Relaxing the shoulders, softening the gaze. Externally rotating the left hip here. Tailbone extending down. And let's straighten both legs here, lifting the kneecaps. Keep the sides of your torso elongated and reach way ahead of you. Once you have reached as far as you can, lower your right hand somewhere down the right shin bone, foot, or on the floor by your foot. And just keep working on the alignment here, elongating the sides of the torso, tailbone tucking under, lengthening through the crown of the head, the spine lengthening. Let's take the left arm up and over the head. Alternatively, you can take both. Using your core, come up, and now bring your hands on the floor and step back into plank. And we're gonna do crossover knee tucks, bringing opposite knee to elbow, 10. Again, 5 on each leg, alternating sides. A few more. And you can take a break in child's pose or downward facing dog. In child's pose, make sure to relax your shoulders, let them drop. Let them be heavy. Inhale the hands over your head, coming back up. To plank. And this time we're gonna do jump crossover knee tucks. That was a demonstration. 10 again. 5 on each side. Same movement, but this time is a little faster with a jump. Once you're done with your 10 repetitions, go back into downward dog and plank, and 10 more. Taking a break in downward facing dog, and let's take the left leg up. Step your left foot between your hands. Inhale, come up, Warrior 1, and let's open into Warrior 2. Take a little wider stance here. Sink a little deeper in your lunge if you can. Press into the outer edge of your right foot. holding Vira 2. And let's straighten both legs, extend the tailbone down, lengthen your spine, reach way ahead of you and lower down. Triangle pose, Trikonasana. Kneecaps are lifted. Right hip externally rotating, the left femur bone pressing back into its socket. And let's extend the right arm up and over the head. Take both hands forward and now square your chest back down with the floor, hands on the floor, and step into plank. And let's jump the feet in and out of the mat, on the inside and outside, again for 10, as quickly as you can, keeping your hips lifted and your belly in. When you're done, you can rest in child's pose, again allowing for complete relaxation in your neck, shoulder, face muscles. Coming back to your breath, connecting consciously to your breath. Great, and let's come back up to plank. And this time we're gonna jump the feet, both feet, to the left arm and then to the right arm or wrist. 10. 5 on each side, alternating. Of course, you can do more or less reps of this as you progress through your practice. When you're done, come down onto your belly. Bring the hands behind you, palms facing each other, and lift your chest and shoulders off the floor. And now we're gonna lift opposite arm to leg, really lifting using your lower back, glutes, hamstrings to lift, and try to extend or lengthen the fingertips away from your toes. So there is elongation here. Going for 10 reps here too, and when you're done, rest in child's pose. Inhale your hands over your head, coming back up to all fours and plank. And we're gonna touch our knee with the opposite hand, again 10 of those, trying to maintain balance here. 5 on each side, hugging the knee in, trying to keep your moves steady. And when you're done with those, you're gonna hug the knee with the same side hand. Again, 10 of those, 5 on each side. Keeping the hips steady, pressing the heels away from you. And when you're done, go back into downward facing dog and inhale the right leg up, step the right foot between your hands, come up, warrior 1, and let's bring the hands down on the floor, left hand on the floor, right arm reaches up, remaining in this twist, come up, facing your right leg. And you're gonna bring your hands in prayer and bring your left elbow on the outside of your right knee. Either stay here or you can clasp your hands behind you, peel your chest off of your right thigh, shoulders down, Let's bring the left hand down on the floor, square your hips and come into revolving triangle pose. Lengthening both sides of your torso here, the chest is open, the back is wide. Great. And exhale in intense side stretch. Keep your hips square. Visceral. And let's step the feet back into plank. And we're gonna do leg lifts here, just lifting the heels straight up, 10 on each side, somewhat quickly. Okay, keep your hips steady, lifting the heels straight up, trying not to swing. Great, and when you're done, moving into a vinyasa, chaturanga, upward dog, and back to downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg comes up. Exhale your left foot between your hands. Square your hips and come up, warrior one. Vira one. Hands over the heart. And let's bring the right hand on the floor. Left arm reaches up, keeping that twist. Come up. Hands in prayer. And bring your elbow on the outside of your left knee. Either stay here or you can lengthen your hands, open the hands out and clasp behind. When you're ready, you can unclasp. Step your back foot in as close as you need to so that your hips are completely square and go into a revolving triangle pose. Keep your awareness on your hips. And to come out of this, lower your chest over your left leg. Intense side stretch. And this time we're going to step the feet at the front of the mat, coming into a squat. Hug your knees in. And let's grab the big toes with the middle index and finger and thumb on each side. And just roll back, bringing your feet and legs up and over the head into plow pose. Still holding the big toes if you can. And you can bend your knees and lower your knees around your ears. And let's grab the big toes one more time, and this time we're gonna roll back, up. If you can hold your balance, open your legs out. And you can release down into a wide-legged forward bend. Knees are pointing up. You can flex your quads in this forward bend. And here, for the purposes of demonstration, I'm just gonna face forward and bring one elbow on the floor. Reach up and over the head. Optional, you can grab your foot, or otherwise you can just keep reaching with your hand up and over, making sure to open the rib cage up. Next, we're gonna bring the chest over one thigh and over to the other side. This is also a forward bend with a twist. Mindful of your opposite leg. Keep pressing the opposite leg into the floor. Keep flexing your feet and pushing your toes back in. And now you can come into the center and fold forward. Flexing your quads. Flexing your glutes if you can. Come back up. legs together, and from here we're gonna go into hip openers. Bring your right leg underneath the left, stacking the shin bones on top of each other, double pigeon. Flex your feet. The knees are exactly on top of the ankles, ankle on top of the knee, so there is a triangle that is forming between your legs if you look down. Shin bones are exactly aligning here, and breathe into your hips. You can even grab the flesh and move it out and down on your legs, bringing awareness into your hips and into the musculature. Optional is folding forward. Great, coming back up, and we're gonna keep the right leg in front of us and bring the left leg behind us into pigeon. Level your hips with the floor and lower down, coming back to your breath. Consciously moving stagnation out of your body, out of your tissue with your breath. Continuously learning about your state of being through observing your breath. When in pigeon with your right leg forward, make sure your left hip does not lift high off the floor. Make sure your left hip is as close to the floor as your right hip is. That is one of the most common mistakes I see in classes. And it's great to observe your own posture, learning about how you are positioned in space, how you're holding your body, your own awareness of where your hips, your tailbone are. Slowly begin to come out of this. Reach back, grab your left foot in, lowering the foot in towards your glutes or towards you, and here I'm gonna press the foot away from my hand and resist with my hand, so there is resistance here. Come out of it, do a few knee circles. And over to the other side. Left knee forward, left shin bone down, hips level, elongating the spine, lower down. Try not to round your back here. You can bring a block underneath your forehead. Forward bends are extremely calming, so try to have your forehead on the floor or on a block. Being calm. Bringing the breath into your hip. Focus on your exhalations here, really slow, complete exhalations, slowing the breath as much as possible. Using Ujjayi breath technique, constricting the back of the throat as you exhale. There is no rush. Cultivating patience. Great, slowly begin to come out of this, bending the right knee, holding the right foot. Keep a slight tuck in the tailbone here when you stretch your quadriceps. And the next is resistance. You're pressing your foot into your hand, or your forearm in this case here, and resisting with your hand. Great, and let's bring the right leg back and around all the way in front of you so that you can stack your shin bones on top of each other, ankle on top of your knee. Exhale, fold forward. Of course, this is optional. If your hips are tight, you're not going to be able to fold forward, so stay seated in the place where you feel a stretch, but it's not overwhelming. Your breath should be free, no constriction. Great, coming back up, and you can shake your legs out. Let's bring the right foot on the outside of the left knee and go into a twist, seated twist. Wide back, open chest, elongated spine, relaxed shoulders. And I'm gonna do a fancy transition here, walking my hands around over to the other side. Lift right arm up, right elbow on the outside of the left knee, looking back. With each inhalation, lengthen the spine. With each exhalation, go a little deeper, soften the belly. And let's release and come into an easy seated pose. Sitting, coming back to our breath. Great, let's come onto all fours, elbows down, clasping the hands. If you're familiar with headstand, go ahead and do a headstand. Otherwise, you can go ahead and finish the practice with a longer shavasana. In headstand, make sure there is not a lot of weight on the head and neck. Mostly all the weight is in the forearms. To come out of it, slowly lower down with control. And I'm gonna round the back and lower all the way into child's pose to allow the neck and head to rest. And let's jump or walk all the way back into plank and lower down onto your belly. This is scorpion stretch. You're just gonna bring one leg up and across from your body, trying to reach with your toes towards the opposite hand. It's a really good twist for your back. Just keep your hands on the floor and go a few times on each side. Keeping some fluidity in your body here. Once you're done, clasp your hands behind you and lift your chest and shoulders off the mat. Lengthen through the crown of the head forward. Great, release. And let's bring the hands around the ankles and lift. Dhanurasana, bow pose. And we're gonna relax in child's pose. Let's come into seated. Grab your right leg with both hands, straighten it if you can, and bring it in towards your chest. Next thing is we're gonna bring the right knee underneath the right shoulder and holding the foot with the opposite hand, we're gonna straighten the leg and open the chest. Lift everything off the floor to come out of this. Release and over to the other side. This is optional, of course, and it's only for practitioners that have been practicing deeper stretches before. We're gonna straighten the left leg, bring it towards the chest. It doesn't have to touch, just keep your alignment. Knee underneath the shoulder, knee behind the shoulder, straighten. Holding with the opposite hand. Holding your foot with the opposite hand, chest is open. And now we're gonna bring the knee behind the shoulder and lift the booty off the floor. Release, lower down. Exhale, folding forward, Paschimottanasana. And slowly roll all the way back down onto the floor, laying on your back. Hug your knees in. You can rock side to side here. Happy baby, holding the outer edges of your feet, pressing the knees down by the rib cage, pressing the lower back into your mat. Back of the head is wide on the floor. Let's grab the big toes here and straighten the legs, so either all the way or just partially. I'm gonna hold the outer edges of my feet here. Come back to center and transition into shoulder stand. Bringing the elbows a little closer to each other. You can do any variation of shoulder stand here, opening the legs out to the sides, moving, exploring. Feel free to stay a little longer in shoulder stand. I'm gonna do a few bicycles. Opposite elbow to knee. Pull the belly in, keep the chest open, and switch. Opposite elbow to knee. Navasana. Baddha Konasana. Relax your shoulders. Let's bring the hands underneath the legs, bringing the legs together and going into a supine twist. Right knee comes up and across. Look over to your right. And over to the other side, left leg comes across the body to the right. Looking back to your left hand, beginning to return your breath to normal, going into Shavasana. Make yourself comfortable. Namaste.